So the Italian cast on for one colour brioche stitch is a long tail cast on, so you need a length of yarn sufficient for the number of stitches that you're going to cast on. I would say roughly 30 centimetres or 12 inches for every 20 or 30 stitches. That does depend on the weight of yarn though. You hold the yarn in a slingshot over thumb and forefinger, and the two loose ends you pinch with these three fingers of your left hand. Then you take the needle tip and coming from above you just twist the yarn around it like so for the first stitch, which in my case is going to be a knit stitch. The purl stitch goes as follows. You point the needle away from yourself and you come under both yarns, then with a backwards motion you take the thumb yarn and you bring it up under the index finger yarn, and that's your purl stitch. So you're going to be casting on for brioche stitch in the round, which as far as the cast on is concerned is similar to a knit one purl one rib. So the next stitch is a knit stitch. You take the needle tip and point it towards yourself, go under the thumb yarn and come up in the middle, grab the index finger yarn and bring it under the thumb yarn to the front. That's the knit stitch. Now the purl stitch again, away from yourself, under both yarns, grab the thumb yarn with a backwards motion and bring it under the index finger yarn. A little bit faster now. The knit stitch and the purl stitch. I'll explain it one more time. So to make a knit stitch, the needle tip goes towards yourself, up in the middle, grab the index finger yarn and bring it under the thumb yarn. For the purl stitch, you point it away from yourself, come under both yarns, scoop the thumb yarn backwards and under the index finger yarn. It couldn't be easier. Now I'll continue a little bit slower just so that you can see the motion. It's quite fluid, and once you get going you really can become quite fast when you're casting on. I did forget to say at the beginning of the video that in actual fact you need a much smaller needle than you would even knit brioche with. So for brioche stitch you usually go down a needle size, and for the Italian cast on you need even one needle size smaller than that to cast on with, and that's literally just for the cast on round, and once you start knitting you go up to your desired needle size. So just to put that in figures, I would knit the pattern of the hat in US size 4 or 3.5mm needles. I would use 3.25 or US size 3 for the brioche one colour plain brioche stitch, which replaces the ribbing which you see here, and then for the cast on I would use US size 2 or 2.75 to 3mm needles, so just one size below that. I'll stop the video there and I'll see you when I've got 80 stitches. I will just say that the very last stitch, if I'm going to end with a purl stitch, I do a knit stitch, and then the last stitch is just a backwards loop so that it doesn't all slip off.